But walk and pay attention. So walk with your senses. Walk, what is going on in the hips? What is moving? What are the sensations in this amazing piece of equipment, if you will, that we have centered right here? When you look at the pelvis and anatomically, that's a big one to spit out. It's a massive piece, and it's big, solid bones. But then we have the legs below, and then we have the spine above. And it's like having to negotiate two languages, fluidity and bambooishness above, but solidity from the legs below. And if these two languages are not communicated well, everything just gets a big, hairy, stuck mess in the pelvis. So as you come to stand still and you toggle from side to side, are there any sensations in the hips? Right now, as you toggle, you're going through very gentle abduction and adduction of your legs and rocking too back and forth. You are now going through very gentle flexion and extension of the hip joint. We have a lot of mobility, and you add to that if you dial one leg out, do the other one, that's rotation. And we can rotate both with straight legs, but we can also rotate in a flexed position. So we speak all kinds of languages here, or not. That is the key, or not. So notice, is there a difference from one side? How much is available? And we're going to ponder that more as you get down. But what is the mobility here? And as you stand too, also firmly on your feet, now your pelvis, is it the same height? Does one side seem to ride a little higher? So as you lift the heel, but not the front of the foot, just the heel, and you just jiggy from side to side. I hope you can see when I put a lighter colored shirt on tonight, because I think that shows a little bit better. One side may be all jiggy going up, the other side may not be so jiggy going up. And as always with somatics, it's as much about re-educating and letting the body find this path of least resistance as it is about releasing. So from here, let's come onto our backs, have a blanket or a pillow ready for your head, but wait just a moment before you place it under your head. So as you come to lay on your back in a sloppy shavasana, and I have covered my mat, the whole mat, with a blanket tonight. Now, if you have a very soft carpet, you could just lay on that. You don't need to lay on the mat, but my studio floor is hardwood, and that would be too hard. A bed would be too soft. So you want some firm feedback, but not so hard that it's uncomfortable or painful. Now, your sacrum and the back of your skull, notice how they are touching the floor. The sacrum, the 5 fused vertebrae, that is the part of the spine where we have our pelvis joints. Are you resting more towards the tailbone, or are you more towards the top? And that tells us about how much arch we have in our low back. Ideally, we are on the center of the sacrum, and we are on the apex, on the back of the head, but with a tight neck or shoulders, we may be more towards the top of the head, in which case I recommend you slide the blanket under your head so that you can be more on the center of the skull. And now let's bend up the knees. And notice as you bend up the knees, how your low back came closer to the floor. We just gave the psoas a little bit of a break. So the psoas, and I know you can't see it so well in the email I sent out, and if you find it, and I do appreciate you asking me, where is that muscle you keep talking about? Because I consider, the more you see what I see, the more we speak the same language. So the psoas starts, if you take your hands to your belly button, just take your middle fingers to the belly button and go up. And you'll come to a place where your ribs meet. And that's about at T12, the last of the thoracic spine. So the thoracic spine is the part of the spine where the ribs attached. At T12, meeting L1, lumbar spine vertebrae number 1, is where the psoas intersects. And then trace it out to your hip bones, these bumpy bones on the outside of your upper legs. So go all the way down from the above the belly button and then to the bump on the outer hips. That's your greater trochanter. On the inside, it's a little harder to feel. We have the lesser trochanter, a smaller bump, and that's actually where the psoas intersects. So if you press the feet down, you feel some stringiness right at the front of the groins. That's the psoas reaching down to the inner legs. Does it make sense how I'm describing this? I guess thumbs up or a thumb down. Ish. We got a thumbs up. We got a yeah, maybe. I appreciate maybe. All right, sit up and look at the screen, because I'm just going to bring Eric in here for a quick view because he shows it so well. Here's Eric. So I said start all the way up here. That's T12. So now my arm is going to be the psoas. So it attaches here. That's my forearm. Then my lesser trochanter is the bump on the inner thigh bone. You can't see it so well on that one, but if I move the hand out of the way, all the way down here. So my leg movement is determined by everything that happens here. So my psoas sits like this. There's a big muscle. You can see all the red here, the iliacus. We're going to talk a little bit about that. That sits as a big flat muscle. It's kind of like a hollow glute sitting on the inside of the pelvis. One on the inside, and then the glute sits on the back. They do very different things. The front that helps with the lifting of the leg up. The glute on the back pulls the leg back. And we got to have that balance between. But this muscle is so big, it responds to emotions. If we are upset, angry, stressed, overwhelmed, nervous, it locks up. And then we have back pain. So whatever we do in somatics, and in yoga for that matter, we have to friend this muscle. So we're going to spend some time at the very beginning to do just that. Was that helpful? Ish, Roberta, that's fair. Think of your forearm, think of a friend. And we'll talk more about it after if you want to. So let's come on to our back again. With the knees bent up, hands on the abdomen, and then begin to engage in the belly breathing. Expand the belly as you inhale and relax the belly on the out breath. Inhale, the belly expands. And exhale, the belly just relaxes down. So there's no movement of your skeleton. It's all soft tissue. The psoas and the diaphragm both intersect on that T12 vertebrae. So when we breathe in this manner, we begin to bring a little bit of mobility, a little bit of ease to the upper part of the psoas. And it begins to lessen its grip on the low back. So with low back pain, the first thing you want to do, belly breathing. Now notice as you inhale and the belly expands, notice the pelvic floor gently expanding downward. And as you exhale, the pelvic floor moves up. You're not doing anything consciously, but because the diaphragm pressing down of the abdominal content draws down into the pelvis and the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, everything swoops back up. So this is a healthy and natural movement, but we can get so locked in the pelvis that the pelvic floor has lost its ability to move. It is locked in tight. Or it is so overstretched that it is no longer able to pull back up. So we're going to make that a little bit more active. As you inhale, everything expands. And as you exhale, draw the pelvic floor up as you flatten the low back. And then inhale, just let that go. Repeating as you exhale, draw your pelvic floor up, which is a sense of as if you were squeezing the sits bones together a little bit. So it is the urethra, it is the vaginal opening, and it is the anus opening. It's all of these three openings that we have all contracts and draws upward. And then releasing. Do that one more time. As you exhale, pelvic floor draws up and lower abdomen draws in and up. Let's take a pause breath. And now let's inhale and arch the low back. Contract the muscles on the back. Feel this contraction, be present for it. And as you exhale, release the tension on the muscles. Back to neutral. Let's take a breath in for nothing. And as you exhale, now we're going to flatten and engage the pelvic floor. As you inhale, relaxing back to neutral. Let's take a full breath in and out. And then inhale again and arch. With the hands still on the belly, you can feel the belly arching. And exhale, slowly release back to neutral. Sense, feel the muscles relaxing. And if you can't sense it, make a smaller movement, not quite as big. So we always go smaller, not bigger. Inhaling for nothing, exhale, flattening. Draw the pelvic floor up, sensing that. And then releasing. Back to neutral. Take a buffer breath. One more time. Inhale, arch, the muscles contract on the low back. Exhaling, back to neutral. So it does not have to be a big movement at all. Breath in for nothing. And exhale, flatten. Draw the pelvic floor up. And releasing. And then slowly slide the legs out long. Relaxing your arms out to a little bit higher than cactus arms. A little bit higher than cactus arms. I'm pressing out through your right heel. Let's press the heel out. So we're just doing a little calf stretch just because that feels really good. And the left heel. Sensing your calf engages. Let's do that one more time. Our right heel presses out so the toes are pulling towards the shin. And then letting it go. right heel, sorry, left, the other side. So we've done 2 on each side. I get so relaxed sometimes too from doing this with you. And now let's incorporate the hip. So as you inhale and press up through the right heel, take the right hip down with it. Slide it out a little bit longer and release. Left heel slides out. Take the hip along and release. Go back to the right side. Heel and hip slides out, releasing. Left side, just move slow, follow your breath. And then after the next time you're on your left side, as you're back to neutral, reach the right arm back, straightening the elbow, slide it back along the floor, and let that go. Slide the left arm back. The head is going to roll a little bit, just let it, don't try to control the movement. Now reach the arm back again, the right arm, and then press out through the right heel. So we are lengthening the right side, and we let it go. And then the left side. So as you press out through the heel, but pull the arm up, we are putting the whole psoas in extension, inviting it to lengthen out a little bit more. Just slowly move from side to side. As you extend out through the heel and the hand, contract the waist on the opposite side to facilitate a little bit more lengthening. Now that's your lower oblique, also attaches to the pelvis. Contract the opposite waist and then letting it go. Notice that make the extension, the lengthening a little bit easier. And if you're not sure, then do it again without contracting the waist. And then do it with contracting the waist. So it's both steady and release. Reteaching easy movement patterns. Next time you return to neutral from the left, just pause. Notice your sacrum on the mat. Notice the back of your head. And then bend up the knees again. And now here, relax your arms in any way that's comfortable for you. Any way that's comfortable. Have the feet about hip width apart. And then external rotation. You're going to release the right knee towards the right side. The minute, a moment, and begin to feel like a stretch, come up a little bit. And then lower down. So we're working on the adductors, adductors. As you let the leg draw down to the side, stay centered on the sacrum, not rocking to the edge of it. And it's not about getting the leg way down. It's about bringing balance. Too much flexibility is instability. Too little flexibility is rigidity. So as you lower the leg down, notice if there's any jumps and jitters. If so, the muscles may have a little bit of motor amnesia. They can't quite fire smoothly. So as you slowly lower and lift, make the movement as slow and smooth as you can. Where there is no, again, bumps or jumps in the movement. If there is pain, discomfort, back off to a place where there is no pain, no discomfort. And that may be only during the movement in your mind. So as you come up to center, pause. Breathing in and out of your belly, and notice the quality of the breath in your right half of your lower abdomen and the left side. Does it feel different? Maybe there's a little bit more space on the right. Maybe there's no difference. We're going to move on to the left side. So rolling onto the outer edge of the foot. As the knee goes down, lifting up. Slowly lowering down. Coming up. Again, staying centered on the sacrum. So that the pelvis is not moving. This is a thigh bone movement. Only the thigh is moving. Taking the leg with it. So in real life, when we go around, no, we are not looking to hold a rigid and still pelvis. We want everything to move and flow, but we use these isolating movements to shine a light on imbalances. How does this side feel different from the first side? Are there bumpiness here? The adductors, they sit like a fan on the inside of the thigh. They also connect right up along with the psoas, the hip flexor, and also the front of the thigh, the quads. They're part of the hip flexor, so they do double duty. They're not meant to do all of the flexion. And if they are getting a little tight, then we may get the bumpiness from them. Slowly and easy. Don't make it a big hairy deal. And then next time you come up to center, slide the legs out again and pause. Pause and feel how your pelvis is resting on the mat. Again, the back of the skull and the pelvis ideally hang out in the same plane. We're going to bend out the knees and we're going to whisk it with the outer hip, hooking the right leg over the left. And then letting the knees draw down to the right side. Now you're going to roll onto the outside of the right hip. And then inhale, lifting up. And lower down again. So this is both an outer hip, so the tensor fasciae latae, the dude on the outer hip for hip stability. It works alongside the glutes, which does double duty like a lot of these does. As you lift and lower, again, pay attention to the bumpiness that may be in the movement. Also pay attention if there's knee discomfort. Are you rolling the foot with the knee? Or does the knee travel faster or slower than the foot, which may produce the knee discomfort? So right knee goes to the right, takes the left with it. And then inhaling all the way up. Uncross the legs. Pause. Breathing in and out and checking in. Using the breath in your trunk. Use your sensory system to detect if your right half and the left half are resting or feeling different on the mat. We're going to switch to the left leg on top. And the knees now going to the left. Back and forth, slow and easy, no force, just gentle movement. Of all the practices, I think this is the most relaxing practice. We store a lot of tension in our hips, hip region. And from a yoga standpoint, our second chakra, this is our emotional junk drawer, not drunk drawer, our emotional junk drawer, where we file away a little bit of disappointment and sadness and feeling of unworthiness, anxiety, you name it, it all goes in there, according to the yoga philosophy. But also, I think it's the area of our bodies where we have the most interconnecting muscle groups that all have to negotiate what goes on below and above. So the languages that I talked about earlier. So notice, is there a big difference from one side to the other? And if you are repeating this practice, start on the easy side. And go and let that tutor teach the side that needs a little support. As you come up, let's uncross the legs and slide the legs out long. Pause again. We're going to come onto the right side, rolling onto the right side. And some of you may know this one if you've had some hip thingies, you've been to physical therapy. They often prescribe the clamshell So this is the clamshell. You're going to bend up the knees, stack the knees, except we're going to do it the somatic way. You can take your hand to your outer hip. So your outer bum, hip, buns, whatever you want to call it. It's the muscles we're really talking to now are part of the hip stabilizers too. They are external rotators. That's your piriformis and your gluteus medius, a little bit of the minimus. So inhale, lift the left knee up. Feel the muscles engage. And then slowly release all the way down. Inhaling, we're going to lift the knee up. And then I recommend that you count yourself down. So sometimes I count us down. Sometimes I invite you to count yourself down. Count yourself down on a 10 count. So you are staying right up on the hip, not rolling onto your back body. Again, your pelvis does not change movement at all. This is you're just lifting the knee, but keep the pelvis exactly where it is. So often we use compensatory movement patterns. We use other muscles to facilitate a move, but we want to reawaken this movement connection. So the feet stays together. It may take more than one breath to lower down, perfectly fine. As you come down, I invite you to take a full breath in and out. Lifting. And then slowly lower down. Notice if you're rolling on or towards your back body, that means you're trying to get a little bit more knee lift, but you're actually not getting any more lift. You're just rolling. So let this again be a pure hip movement. This is so good to strengthen, to bring balance to the outer hip. Lowering down. So last week we worked on the iliotibia tract, which is part of this whole regimen. Again, connects to the pelvis and the lower leg. Now, as you release down, I invite you to relax completely. Just keep the knees stacked as they are. And let that go. These muscles, when they are weak, we are apt to get outer hip discomfort. And the other band that we need to work on that gets too tight is the tensor fasciae lata band. So repeating from last week, take your leg out in front. So now lifting the knees up so you bend at 90 degrees at the hips. And then take the left leg straight out, still right up on the hip. So now we're doing abduction, abduction, by just lifting the leg straight up. Lift your left leg about a foot. And then counting down, 8 count, 10 count, or 12 count. Some of you have done this several times. You have an idea of what is comfortable for you. And if it's the first time, start small. Don't be too eager. Can you tell you're using a different muscle group now? Inhale, lifting. What is firing to create this action? Slowly, slowly releasing down without collapsing the pelvis on top of itself. And once you've done that twice, maybe 3 times, let's just bend the knee. And slowly, let's come onto the back body. Stretch the legs out and feel your left side and your right side. Does one side lay a little flatter? roll on to the left side. And I'll spin all the way about. So first the clamshell where the heels align with the hips. So don't pull the knees up too high. You have not a 90-degree angle, more like a 120-degree angle between your trunk and your thighs. And then here again, lifting the knee, top knee, right knee, and slowly lowering it down. And you can take your hand to your outer hip. So you can sense both from the inside interoception and the outside interoception with your hand. How does this side feel compared to the other side? Again, taking care you're not rolling on towards the back body, but you're staying exactly on the same point on your left hip. You can make the movement bigger. You can make it smaller. So as you explore your range of movement, if there is pain, you know what I'm going to say? Back off, back off. Are there any jumps of jitteriness on this side? So knee lifts, feet stay together. Let the release take longer than the contraction, allowing the body, the brain to learn this new movement pattern. Let's do it one more time. Lifting the leg, don't roll onto the back of the hip. And then as slowly as you can, you release. And once you're down, you pull the knees up higher. And as you pull the knees up, taking care that you're not collapsing into the waist. So you keep drawing your right hip down. My knees and hips are now at 90 degrees. I know I'm a little hard to see, as if I'm sitting in a very straight back chair. And then we'll take the leg, top leg, the right leg out in front, straighten it out along the floor. So it's pointing away from you. Yes, straighten it out. And then here now we're using the outer hip stabilizers, not the rotators that we were just using. And as you inhale, let's lift the leg up, no more than a foot, but maybe just a couple of inches. And then count yourself down tonight. 8 count maybe, or 10 count. Remember, no pain, no pain. Let it be smooth and easy. And taking a buffer breath in between movements can be really helpful for the body to change that resting tension on the muscle. Remember this work, it's not about repetition, it's much about quality of movement. Slowly, slowly, lower down. And once down, pause. You'll bend up the knees again, and now we're going to come on to the belly. I thought long and hard about how I wanted to do the glutes. We could do them standing, but I decided it would be more relaxing to do them laying down. So let your head come to rest on your hands. You can turn your head to either side. Just keep your neck comfortable. Laying on my belly. So the glutes are extenders. They bring the leg behind the hips. So as you inhale here, press the hips down and then lift the right leg up. Lift the right leg up and keep the hips still. Now slowly release the right leg down. And as you come down, let everything pull. Let everything pull. Let's do that again. Press the hips down. That helps engage, and then lift the right leg. You're not going to be able to lift it very high. And we're getting the hamstring involved a wee bit as well. But with a straight leg, it's mostly glutes and the big ones. Slowly release down. Everything pulls. We'll do that one more time. Lift the leg. What other parts are trying to help out? Slowly, with control, lower the leg down. Pause for breath. As you breathe in and out, everything pulls. Sense your right glute and your left glute. Let's switch to the left side. Press the hips down and then lift the left leg up. Again, count yourself down. Notice if there are jumps and jitters. Slow and even. Everything pulls. When you're ready, pressing the hips down and lift again. If you're not sure if the glutes are fine, you can take a hand back and place it right on the gun and see if there is action. We have two extenders. The hamstring is one, so you may feel the hamstring engaging as well. You want the glutes to fire first, not like an afterthought. So after you let everything pull, press the hips down again, and then as you begin to lift, what is initiating the move? Is it the glute that brings the leg up, or did the hamstring fire first? That's not going to be good. So that's an opportunity to retrain the firing order. I did not come up with that word. It is a true word. And once down, everything pulls. Just pause. And then without a lot of effort, find your way onto your back again. Before you bend up your knees, pause. Once you gather data, we're going to bend up the knees again. And so the psoas and the iliacus, that's that inner, the hollow glute that I showed that sits on the inside of the pelvic bowl, also part of our hip mobility. And that one can also get sort of checked out. So For our next movement, the revered hip circles. Let's begin by just pulling the right hip up towards the right armpit. And letting that action release. And then draw your left hip up towards the left armpit. And slowly release that contraction. Just go from side to side so your pelvis is moving on a horizontal plane, like a record dialing on a record player. Or lazy Susan, that may be a better word. Does it swing evenly from side to side? Sense a contraction. These are your inner obliques. And then releasing. Do you have the same sensation even from side to side? And then the next time you complete on the left side, you come to center. And do the opposite direction. So instead of being on a horizontal plane, I'm going to be on a vertical plane. You're going to press your right hip into the floor and then let that go. Pressing the left hip into the floor and let that go. So now we're isolating the pelvic movement. We have a little bit of joint mobility in the sacrum. Again, no pain. As you press the hip down, it'll draw the lower abdomen from the pubic bone up, but only on the side. That sounds weird, I know, that you are pressing down. Can you isolate? Again, remember, if there is pain, back off, back off, back up. Just make the movement smaller and smaller. And study what is contracting to do this. Does it feel the same on each side? Now, next time you complete on the left, just pause. Then we're going to combine these two movements. I think of it as the pedals on a bike, moving around in big circles. So draw the right hip up towards the armpit and then lift the hip up as you press the left down. Draw the left hip up towards the left armpit. The right is going to move in the opposite direction. So notice how your hips are now moving on opposite plane. As one draws up, the other goes down. As one slides towards the armpit, the other moves down towards the hip. This is essentially walking, but on your back. Can you do this without using your feet? So let the movement be in the pelvis, circling. How about going backwards? So switch directions. Sort of the same thing, but I know my brain does not compute this as smoothly as going forward. So I have to slow it way down to again create a sense of smooth and easy movement without jumpiness or jitteriness. And then let us let that go. Slide the legs out again. Breathing in and out. Now the fallen tree. Oh, my favorite move. Because now we are really going to put it all together. Roll the right leg in. So this pure rotation, rolling it out. Roll from the hip, not the foot. So roll from the hip joint. The foot is just going to fall along. So my leg is just rolling in and rolling out. Next time the leg rolls out, so toes are pointing away from the midline, slide the leg up a little bit, slide the heel up. So now I'm taking it to flexion. Slide the leg back out. And then rotate the leg in again. Roll the leg out, rotate out, slide the heel up again. Sliding it back out. Rolling in. So let's do that one more time. Draw the knee up, now about as high as I can go, and then let the knee draw across my left leg. Take the knee back out. Tree pose, fallen tree, slide the leg out long. Roll the leg in, rolling it out, sliding it up. Dip the knee across, begin to roll onto your left hip, coming back to center. Release the knee long, rolling it in. So we're just adding a little bit more rotation, more flexion. Moving between internal rotation, external rotation, and then adding the same but with flexion of external and then internal rotation. Let's do it one more time. Rolling, leg draws across, so my left leg is straight. It's just along for the ride, not doing anything. And as I get my right leg out, I'm just going to pause. Pause and feel. I think it's worth repeating on the left. So again, we began by just rolling the leg in and out. Pure rotation. And then as you roll the leg out, again, move from the hip, not the foot. Begin to slide the heel up, but keep the heel on the floor so it does not lift away from the mat initially. Then roll the leg back in, rolling it out, sliding it up. So we build the movement little by little. Again, the work is more to make the movement smooth, pain-free, and easy. Where is there a hitch in the giddy up? I think that's how they say it. So sliding the leg up in external rotation, sliding it out in the external rotation. Roll the whole leg in towards the right foot, rolling it out away from the right, sliding it up. And then begin to dip it across. And you don't have to go all the way in the beginning. Let the movement build itself. So again, internal and external rotation. And then the same, but with flexion. And as you dip the knee across, begin to roll onto the outside of your right hip. In and out. Sliding the leg up, external rotation. Dip it across. Internal rotation. Back to the external rotation. Sliding it out. Let's do it one more time. Dipping. Back out. Sliding it long. Pause. So from here, we finish with the psoas by bending the left leg up. And we're just going to focus on the lower fibers tonight. Next week, we're going to work on the upper fibers as well. But inhale is arch the low back. Now exhale, flatten the low back. You can use your left leg to help you flatten down. Now let's lift the right leg up about 6 inches, not a lot. And slowly keep the low back down as you let the right leg go down, releases down, lengthening while you release down. Put some length back on the psoas. And once down, let everything relax. Everything relaxes. And we're going to do that one more time. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flatten. Lift the legs, and the toes are pointing out a little bit to the side. Again, it's not a big lift. And then slowly, 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 without lifting the low back. Lower the leg as you lengthen it out. And relax. Slowly slide the left leg long. Let's take a buffer breath. And bend up your right leg. Let's inhale and arch again. Exhale, flatten. Press the low back down so we are locking down the lumbar part of the psoas. Lift the legs. So now we're putting it to work. Keep the lumbar spine pressing down as you slowly lower the leg. Slowly lower the leg. Slowly lower the leg. Notice those bumps. And again, if there's discomfort, back off, back off, back off. We can engage the muscles without putting a load on them. And sometimes that's a preferred to retrain the motor and sensory nerve interconnection. One more time. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flatten. Lift the leg 3, maybe 6 inches. Keep the low back down, keep the low back down. And then slowly, 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 slowly releasing down. Once down. Let's slide the right leg out. Draw the legs together. Let's bring the arms up, interlace the fingers for a full body stretch. So now everything consolidates. Heel draws away from palms, tailbone towards the heels. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Then inhale, let's lift the arms up. Switch the interlace of the fingers. Switch the interlace of the fingers. Press the palms up. And take them back overhead again. Tailbone to heels. Consolidate, consolidate. And then take the arms back up and let everything relax. A little 3-minute shavasana. Maybe just 2. So pooling the breath, get comfortable if you need a blanket or a sweet little poodle. And if it's more comfortable to rest with the knees bent up, I certainly invite you to do that. But give the body an opportunity to integrate, the mind an opportunity to integrate what you did and to layer it in. Because our movement patterns, like anything else that we repeat a lot, become ingrained and they're not always beneficial movement patterns. As you rest, are there any parts that you are contracting habitually? Can you relax a little bit more? Then let your breath deepen, letting your breath deepen. Bend up the knees, rock the knees from side to side. And as you do so, eventually find your way over onto your right or left side, and then come up into a seated posture.